Welcome to my class. In the last class, we talked about methods of collecting data, and there were two methods. There are two methods rather. One is a census method and the other is a sampling method. So in this, we are going to talk about what are the essentials of a good sample. So, of course, for a good sample to be a real good sample, it should be homogeneous. Number one, it should be adequate, big enough. Then another thing is it should be representative of the data, the universe, and of course it should be independent. So I want you to have a look here. And before we go on, now what is universe or population? It is a total number of units under study. So universe doesn't mean the universe that we see around or the population and as in population, but it is, just have a look. So what is it? Whatever units, the total number of units which you are going to study for your research work, the total number of the units under study under your statistical inquiry, that is the universe. And we're going to use this word population and universe interchangeably when we are doing this. So now talking about that, let's just come to what are the essentials of a good questionnaire, essentials of good sample. Now I'm going to learn it up as HARI, hurry. Harry or hurry, you can say hurry. Okay, let's take H for homogeneity. If more than one sample are selected from a universe, these samples should be homogeneous. They should not be different from each other. Okay, that is homogeneity. It should be homogeneous. A is adequacy. The number of items in the sample should be fairly adequate so that some reliable conclusions are drawn. It should cover the characteristics of the entire universe. So the number of items in the sample should be fairly adequate so that some reliable conclusions are drawn. So again, that means all the characteristics of the entire population should be covered. It should be big enough. The sample should be big enough like that. Now talking about R, a sample must represent all the characteristics of the universe. That is, it will be only possible only when each unit of the universe has equal chance of being selected in the sample. Okay, and I is independent. All units of a sample must be independent of each other, which means inclusion of one item in the sample should not be dependent upon the inclusion of other items of the universe. So make sure that whenever you're selecting a sample, hurry should come into your head. That is, it should be homogeneous, it should be adequate, it should be representative, and it should be independent. Now talking about this, then what are the factors that affect the size of the sample? So for that, one should really make note of how do we go about it. So when you finalize a sample, what you ought to think about is this. That is size of the population. That was the size of the total number of units under study. That is, larger the units under study, more will be the sample units. Okay, so larger the size of population, more will be the sample units. Now, what type of accuracy you are looking for? Is if you really want real good accuracy, if your study has to be more accurate, then make sure that you take a larger number of sample units in yours. The population should be large again. Then what is your nature of study? If it is it is an intensive study, it requires less sample size, but an extensive study needs larger sample size. And then what is the nature? Now this also depends, sample also depends on the nature of the respondents. If the respondents are not cooperative, then a larger sample would be required. Okay, and again let me just tell you why we go in for sampling, more for sampling now, because It is the merits are there as compared to the census method, that it is economical, it is reliable, then it is more scientific than the census method because its conclusions can be tested by taking another sample from the universe. Then uh, again, it is more appropriate or suitable for investigation where the scope or area is very large and different units of the universe are homogeneous. And if you really want to talk about the defects, the only one major defect would be that the degree of accuracy is not really, it doesn't really have a very high degree of accuracy. And another thing, it can have a personal bias, or that means whoever is choosing the sample, because of his personal prejudice, it can lead to what is known as misleading results. And yeah, and sampling does need specialized knowledge and all of that. So this is the essentials of a good sample. That is, it should be homogeneous, it should be adequate, it should be representative, and it should be independent. So these are the questions that you can get. What are the factors affecting the sample size? What do you mean by universe? What are the essentials of good sample?